Hey everyone, welcome to Crank It Up Podcast, the YouTube home of Brigand Games. My name is Jim Price, and I am the designer of Erudia Battle of Birthrights. This is a two-player card game of area control and variable player powers, inspired by many of the classic JRPGs that I grew up with. At Brigand Games, we like to say that we wear our inspiration on our sleeve, and this game is heavily inspired by both the Final Fantasy job system and the class system in Ogre Battle. But as you discover the world of Arvoodia, you will find many Easter eggs for other games in the genre. In this video, I'll be walking you through the Tabletop Simulator demo game that we are making available both as a trial for our upcoming Kickstarter and for blind playtesting. We are nearly done with development and are primarily fine-tuning the rulebook to give you the best experience possible. As a game system, there is a lot to discover about Arvoodia, and in the future there will be videos that reinforce some of the more advanced concepts. But for now, I'm keeping rules videos to a minimum in order to blind playtest the rulebook. This video will assume that you are familiar with the premise of the game and will be reading the rulebook, although there will be some additional videos for Erudia on this channel. You can find a copy of the rulebook in this mod, as well as a copy at rules.brigandgames.com. Throughout the video, I'll be referencing multiple links, all of which will be in the description. This is a draft version of our rulebook, and we are still scrutinizing everything heavily, so please bear with us as we proofread and cross-check, since this process is long and arduous, but there's also value in blind playtesting, which is why we are releasing this now. First, I'll go over how to find this mod. At this time, it is only available on Tabletop Simulator, but fortunately, it's on sale through Thursday, July 8th for 50% off. I strongly encourage you to buy a license because it offers a ton of content in one place, and not just Erudia. To access the mod, you'll need a Steam account, and you need to subscribe to the workshop item. From within Tabletop Simulator, you can bring up the game menu and click on Workshop. Click on Browse to bring up the Tabletop Workshop in the browser. In the middle of the page, you'll see a search bar where you can search for Erudia. Clicking on the thumbnail will take you to our page where you can subscribe. You'll also see a link to our Discord in the description where you can join our community to find players and learn more about the game. If you want to find this page from outside Tabletop Simulator, go to mod.brigandgames.com. Make sure you are signed into Steam and then subscribe to the workshop. Once you are subscribed, you will see the game listed in your workshop, and clicking on the game will bring you to this mod. As this is a demo version, only a select number of classes are available at this time, which are 2 primaries and 4 secondaries. Still, there are 8 total permutations available since you can play both knights and cavalry with all 4 secondaries. This represents just 10% of the actual content in the core set, which has 88 unique permutations of decks, and when you combine this with the customization of the treasury and acolyte systems, the replayability and personalization really begin to shine. To set up the game, reference the instructions in page 4 of the rulebook, which can easily be scrolled through. You can choose your color in the top right corner. In the center of the mod, you will find all the cards you need, and players should delete any cards they aren't using. To delete a deck, hover over it and press the delete key. The 2 primary decks are the cavalry and the knights. By flipping over the dividers, you will see a list of cards that come with the class, in case you need to know how many copies of a card exists. To zoom in on an item in TTS, press the Alt key. Only you can see what you have zoomed in. For simplicity, I've separated the acolytes from the rest of the cards to make sure you draft the proper unit. You can hover over a deck and press F to flip it, so that the cards are concealed. To search through a deck, right-click on the deck and press Search in the context menu. You can hover over a card to zoom in, and select your acolyte secretly. As I've said before, this is a chance to show off your personality, especially since the draft is a secret. If you like antagonism, you'll probably pick Pyrois. If you like building an engine, you might take Sleipnir. For some combos, drafting Epona or Arion can enable some massive plays, but it gives you instant access to a key component of them. This allows 2 players to play the same deck extremely differently. When you've chosen an acolyte, pull it aside and you will see that it is still face down. If you ever need to inspect a face-down card, you can press Alt and Shift over it. No one else can see what you are looking at. For the first game, we recommend pairing cavalry with Heavions and knights with dragons. The Cavalry are a class that utilizes movement to spread out and converge on their true location. The Hivions are a toolbox class that can do everything and are inspired by the slivers of magic. Each Hivion gains ability from the other Hivions, and they can bestow their powers on the primary class. The Knights like to lie in wait and use their weapons to come from behind, drawing power from your strength. The Dragons hoard card and increase your hand limit so that they can strike when the time is right, whether it's through brute force power or incinerating your rival. Also included in the mod for later games are the Skeletons, who avoid and manipulate the discard pile and grow over time. The Scouts here appear in their secondary format, where they focus on deck foresight and swarming via the deploy mechanic. You can always tell a primary deck from a secondary deck based on the orientation of the divider. Primary decks are left aligned, while secondary decks are right aligned. The bottom row of cards contains your treasury. You will draft 5 cards and return the rest to the top of the board. These classes will not interact with the treasury, but others in the core set will. Players have identical sets of cards that are again drafted in secret. Remember to flip the deck with the F key. While you can take any 5 cards, we strongly encourage you not to take the Cloak of Sharon in your first game, as it adds in the complexity of cloaking, which is an entire page in the rulebook. If you need some suggestions, you can check out the Royal Item Divider at the top of the page. There are some suggested drafting sets that you are free to use or ignore. When you are done drafting, you can pull the cards that you've drafted into your hand. Remember, these will be face down. You can flip them in your hand in case you ever need to pull them out of your hand. You can combine your decks by flipping them over and stacking them on top of each other to form a single deck. You can shuffle it with the R key. To draw a specific amount of cards, hover over that deck and press a number key. For example, I'm going to press 4. You will draw 4 cards as the first player and 5 cards as the second player. To randomly select the first player, you can shuffle the bag in the top left corner. Then pull a marble out to decide the first player. Each player has a designated spot for their deck and discard. On their sides, you will find a few controls. The counter in the middle is your VP, where you will track your score. The counter in the bottom is your morale, where you will adjust a number from 12. You will see 4 tiles that track your tactics. We strongly recommend flipping them to track which tactics you have used each turn. By zooming in on them with Alt, you will see a reminder of the options for each tactic. Remember that you can use up to 3 different tactics each turn, and some cards may grant additional options. Above your VP tracker, you will find 2 double-sided summary cards. These are prototypes for summary cards that will actually ship with the game. The left summary card includes the turn summary and an icon summary on the reverse side. The second card contains a capture phase summary for battlefields and a list of objectives on the reverse side. If you are playing with objectives, which you may want to ignore for your first game, this card will remind you of them. While they are optional for the first game, objectives are a vital part of the game and offer a chance to alter the fate of a battlefield in surprising ways. Finally, the cerulean zones are limbo, where your orders and assets will be staged until nightfall. Each player has their own limbo zone to remind them that only your cards are removed from limbo during your nightfall, as some ambush cards may linger during a rival's turn. In the center of the board, you will see 4 zones for battlefields. Each battlefield zone contains a snap point that will show you where the battlefield is meant to be placed. Be sure to shuffle the battlefield deck with R before placing them. Each zone contains a few additional controls. The red and blue counters will track the total power of their respective players. In the event of color blindness, the red raven is always on the left, and the blue wolf is always on the right. The center black counter will track the resistance of a battlefield and its battlefield damage. When a battlefield enters play, set the counter to the resistance in the top left. When a battlefield takes damage, adjust this number and place a damage token on the battlefield in order to track the battlefield damage. In the top right corner of the board, you will see the tokens that are used in Erudia. Each token is sorted in an infinite bag. Each token is also stackable for easy counting. If you need a reminder of what each token does, hover over it. Hovering an additional period will bring up a description with more information. Because these tokens are infinite, you may delete ones you no longer need. If you ever need to group tokens, draw a box around them and press the G key to group them together. This way you can press delete once to delete the stack. You will also find some optional counters for constant and temporary power. This will make counting easier so you can accurately determine the power of each unit. Purple is used for temporary power and green for constant power, such as the power of night weapons. These are also stackable. If you are playing with objectives, you will use the double-sided objective tracker below each battlefield. The red and blue side is used for bridges and planes. The reverse side is used as a countdown for caves. Some other controls that you might find useful are a stopwatch for timing the game. You can right-click on it and press stopwatch to clear it. If you turn on turns in the option, they will be tracked here. Be sure to set the turn count to 1 for your first turn, as it may skip over the other player if they aren't present in the game yet. And that's everything you need in the mod. Each player has a copy of the rulebook that they can reference in the game, including a sample turn and capture scenario. You can ask additional questions in our Discord, which can be found in the description of this video at discord.brigandgames.com. If you go to the Discord, you can learn more about being credited as a blind playtester and how blind playtesting can help you win a free Kickstarter credit when our campaign starts. For more information, check out the Win a Free Copy channel. You can find general instructions in the Getting Started channel. I've discussed this in other videos, but Brigand Games cares tremendously about developing community, and part of our culture is to include your ideas in the game. As you become more familiar with this world, you will be invited to participate in community design of certain classes that we have reserved space for in the game. Erudia is unique in that the game is designed fully as a long narrative, with all expansions planned in advance, minus space reserved for your ideas. This allows us to express a cohesive design with one rulebook and continually reuse the core mechanics in interesting ways. I hope that you enjoy your trial of Arvoodia Battle of Birthrights, and be sure to check in regularly as I may add in more content to this mod. The best way to stay up to date is to subscribe to this channel and follow us on social media. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to play you here myself. Thank you so much for watching. Let's shut it down.